let's get into a real nerd competitive shooting topic. That is 2011 versus Shadow 2. This is a good discussion because these are both tools that people are looking at for USPSA or IPSC. Very, very common guns to shoot for that application. So let's go ahead and talk through them, and I'll tell you like what I think or whatever. So this Shadow 2, this is, like I said, pretty much ubiquitous for Carry Optics division in USPSA. Now, the restrictions that are put on the guns in that division that matter, it's like the trigger system, so it just cannot be a single action gun. It just effectively can't be a 2011. It has to be a striker fired gun or a double single like this. And then no magwell attachments. That's effectively the restrictions that are put on the guns in Carry Optics. Oh, no comps as well. I guess that stuff would matter. So what you're looking for then is a 9mm pistol. It's not going to have a comp, not going to have a magwell, and it's not going to be single action. Now, what do people like about the Shadow 2s? Now, first, these are made for competitive shooting and marketed to that crowd. The gun is heavy, and I would say it is built for the job as much as they can build it. So there's lots of aftermarket accessories, out there. There's different grip panels. You can change the trigger shoe. You can change a lot of the characteristics of the trigger. You can change a lot about the gun, but effectively why this is popular, it is a good enough, heavy double single gun. And that's really what it is. Like it's good at doing that job. Now, I would say there's a lot I don't like about the Shadow 2. You can see here, maybe you can see, but the way this optic is mounted on here, like it is in the way of me taking out the extractor, which is one of the pain points on this gun. You've got to keep that. You got to be attentive to the extractor, keep it clean, take a look at it, and all that stuff. The other thing that I would say is like a knock against the gun, sort of. So I'll explain in a second, but a sort of a knock against the gun is the trigger system. Now, just the nature of a double single gun like this, that the lighter I make this, the double action press, kind of the less reliable the gun's ultimately going to be. And I think a lot of people really succumb to that temptation and they get these guns so they're like not even really reliable. And it's just due to like fucking around with the trigger system too much or making the springs too light, that sort of thing. All right, so like I said, this is a ubiquitous tool for USPSA. What are the downsides from it? Like I said, dealing with the extractor, especially with the optic on it, that's an issue. There are some workarounds for that. The extractor itself is something that constantly requires care and attention. If you go too hard with the trigger system, there's going to be reliability issues, and then it will become something that you really have to pay a lot of attention to. Apart from that, I would say the build quality on these is medium. I wouldn't say it's very high. I have a bunch of examples of this gun. And, you can just tell, like, the quality control is not quite the same. It's not the same as something like Atlas. It's probably not the same as something like Staccato. It's noticeably not as good as that. All right, so, like I said, this gun's fine for USPSA. Now, a lot of people now are looking at shooting 2011s instead. Now, there's a division for these limited optics, which allows the single-action triggers, allows the magwells, still no comps. So this is kind of a purpose-built gun for that. And the question for a lot of people is like, well, which is better? Which one should I shoot? So what I would say is like the Shadows to me are not that great of guns. They're good. I like the gun for what it is. Don't get me wrong. But it's not, to me, it's not less hassle than this. I actually trust this Atlas gun more than I trust the Shadow in terms of reliability. Like, it's going to work better. It's going to have more longevity. There's going to be less issues with it. Yes, I have to fuck around with the extractor, but it's easier on this gun. And then I can get parts from different vendors for other stuff that I want to repair or other stuff I want to change. And like I said, like, I don't think that's really that weird or crazy of opinion. I just think the Shadow 2s are more work than people make them out to be. Like, they're less reliable and more work than people act. And the 2011s, I think they're less nonsense. There's less bullshit with them than, again, when people act like it's totally different in terms of maintenance. Like, it's really a lot of maintenance now. And it's kind of like, if you're running a gamed out Shadow 2, like you know all about the maintenance anyway. So anyway, what would I choose to shoot? To me the 2011s are just easier and better, and it's easier logistically for me because like I've got holsters, I've got these things laying around. They don't require that much effort from me. They don't even really require that much specific training. It's just kind of like it's set up, just pick it up and shoot it. It might not be the best I could do, but like it's easier to pick up and deal with than the Shadows. That's my opinion. The other thing is like consider what division people around you are shooting. So if you look at it and there's everybody shooting carry optics in your region or everybody shooting limited optics or whatever, that would determine for many which gun you ultimately want to shoot. Like, all right, to me, I feel like the 2011s are better. Not even necessarily an Atlas gun. I mean, even like a Staccato P is going to be less bullshit than a Shadow for most people. Like that's how I see it, and that's what I've observed based on watching all different kinds of people show up with this equipment. I just think you're going to have an easier ride in terms of dealing with the gear with the 2011s, and that's again, this is mostly because people have they don't perceive the Shadows to be as much work or be as finicky as I see them being. Like they are more finicky than people give them credit for. And again, that is something that people do that to themselves, in my opinion. So there we go. Shadow versus 2011. That's my take on it.